Hey, Bills Mafia. We know there's only one topic every day. All Bills, all the time. And now Matt Beauvais and Sal Capaccio are going really deep, talking Bills all year long, because it's always game day in Buffalo.
Yeah, we had rookie mini camp start this weekend. We have OTA starting this coming week, but it's schedule release week, baby. Woo! For nerds like Matt and I, when it comes to the schedule, this is like opening Christmas presents, isn't it, Matt?
This is one of my favorite things. One of my favorite episodes. It's one of my favorite days of the NFL season. There are people, haters, we'll call them, who are like, why does it matter? You already know where they're going. I know. But I want to know when they're going, and I want to know how the puzzle all pieces itself together. And I think a lot of other people feel the exact same way. Also, selfishly, it kind of dictates a lot of our lives for a big chunk of the year. And then I can start to get ahead of things and say, okay, like here's a very real world example of this. My wife and I are trying to figure out childcare.
Oh, yeah, that's always tough.
For the this place on Monday Night Football, or they're going to this place on Sunday night, and then I'll be back Monday. So it's nice because then you can start to put it all together.
Yeah, we're in the same boat. We just, there's things going on. We're like, okay, let's plan this, plan that. Well, wait a minute. What if the bye week is this week or that week? We like to do something during the bye week. And if it's a really nice destination prior to the bye week, then it makes it easier. Like we said, we both kind of would like to have Seattle and then the bye week. That'd be great, right? For the Bills. That'd be amazing. I think LA would be great to do something like that. Maybe Houston, but we're both looking forward to that for sure. Let's just set up today's show. This is what we're going to do, okay? It's always game day in Buffalo. Sal Capaccio, Matt Beauvais, thanks for joining us. We had Mike North on the pod a couple of weeks ago, as everybody knows, VP of Broadcasting for the National Football League, and we appreciate his insight. We had such a great time talking with him. We all decided we could just keep talking schedule, for hours and hours. It's just so fun how the puzzle gets put together. So then what happened was we thought the schedule was coming out last Thursday night. Not because Mike said it was for sure, but he kind of indicated it's right around that time, and it just made sense. But then all of a sudden last week kept dragging on, Matt, and we're like, where's the schedule? We got to like Tuesday, and we realized there's no way they're doing it because they would have started leaking out games. Yeah. Sure enough, we get to Wednesday, Thursday, we hear these reports about Christmas on Netflix, which we'll get into, and they said because of having to figure out where those Christmas games would go, that was pretty much the delay. So here we are now, pretty much a week later than normal.
Yeah, so it took a little bit longer than normal. I know that people are getting antsy. By the time you listen to this or watch this, I think there is a chance a couple games, because I think you referred to them as leaks. We could call them, because there will be leaks, but there will also be very intentional announcements to try and drum up the hype and also to feed the beast of all of the partnerships that go. I mean, these are billion-dollar partnerships that these networks are paying. So when you're paying that much money, you want a reason to get people excited before the schedule is released. So my guess is either Monday or Tuesday morning, we start to see the announcements made on the morning shows around the country. So that'll be the Today Show, Good Morning America, and CBS This Morning. And my guess is they announce the season opener. My guess is they announce probably the first Sunday night game and then probably the first Monday night game. That's just my guess of what they'll do. If memory serves me correct, didn't we find out the Bills were playing the Jets on Monday Night Football the day before the schedule came out last year, or maybe 2 days before?
I don't remember for sure, but we generally get those opening week games filtered out throughout the week.
You know what? It might have been the morning of, actually. It might have been that morning. We might have found out on Thursday morning, and then the remainder of the schedule came out that evening. That sounds.
I do remember this though, Matt. I remember this because I was at the gym on the treadmill during one of the morning shows 2 years ago when it was announced the Bills would play the Titans as part of one of those dual Monday night doubleheaders. Week 2, and it was like one of the first announcements of the week. It was a Monday or Tuesday when the schedule was released on Thursday that week.
And that was especially interesting because that year it did not get announced that the Bills were playing the Rams in the season opener, but it did get announced that the Bills were playing the Titans. Right. And a lot of people thought that took them out of contention for the season opener because they're like, there's no way the league's going to have them play back-to-back primetime games to start the season. Oh, but they did. So when we go through the mock schedules that we put together, there might be a couple consecutive primetime games. I think in years past that would have seemed impossible. but not now, and not with the Bills as the caliber of team that they are.
And also not be, it's because it's just unavoidable now these days, Matt, with so many primetime games and everybody getting a share of the pie, as you said. So there's a lot of different things that play here. Speaking of mock schedules. So yes, we are going to do mock schedules. Matt has created one. I've created one. Spoiler, we have the same opening week game for the Bills.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. If you're just listening to us, we'll go through it, obviously, through audio. If you're watching us on the Sal Sports YouTube page, which you should be subscribing to, by the way, and watching us all the time, we're actually going to put it up on the screen so you can visually see each one of our mock schedules. So we'll do that as well. It's funny. I really wanted to do a mock schedule because, you know, we did it last year and we were probably going to do it anyway. But when the schedule was announced, when they said it's going to be delayed basically a week, I made a tongue-in-cheek comment on Twitter like, well, just gives us another week of mock schedules. And I was kind of being just funny about it. It was kind of not a big deal. Yeah. I had like 3 or 4 people saying, what a waste of time. Who would ever do a mock schedule? We would. So we're going to do it for you. We're going to do it because that's what we enjoy doing. I don't know. Whatever you enjoy doing is really cool. It's not a waste of time for us. I actually think it's kind of cool to put the puzzle together.
Well, it's also funny because there have been some schedules that have been leaked on social media that at this point are completely wrong.
Yeah,
so
100%.
I want to make that clear. But I also want to say, even though I know they're completely wrong, I still look at them and see how it all comes together. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's interesting. Or, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Or, oh, yeah, that doesn't make sense. So there's people who are just like us, who are very interested in this stuff. And it's a complete guess. Listen, mock drafts are like a complete guess after you get out of the top 10. So this is just our way of, but I will say this, and I'm not to like toot our own horn here, but I think these are mock schedules that also have sprinkles of educated guesses built in based off of what we know about the league, the conversation that we do have with Mike North, and just maybe different things that we'll hear. We'll start to know more about the schedule as it gets closer to actually getting released. Right now, I have no inside knowledge whatsoever about specific games and what weeks they will be. But then that being said, like, you know, I just think that this is a fun exercise and I think people enjoy it.
For sure. We have a very loyal follower who loves the schedule with us. His name is Michael on Twitter. And he tweeted at me today and said, last year they announced the schedule was going to be released on Monday for a Thursday release. They haven't done it yet. How come? And wouldn't it make sense if you're going to do it, you know, now if it's going to be Wednesday night, which we think it's going to be Wednesday night? And my answer to you, Michael, is, and anybody else, it's Mother's Day. It's a Sunday. They're probably not going to do business like that on a Sunday and on Mother's Day. We'll hear tomorrow that the schedule is going to be released on Wednesday. That's my guess. The NFL will actually officially make that announcement. In the meantime, happy Mother's Day to all mothers out there. We probably should have started with that. It is Mother's Day when we're recording this. Happy Mother's Day to your mom. Happy Mother's Day to my mom. Happy Mother's Day to your wife. Happy Mother's Day to my wife. All the moms out there. We have a lot of incredible moms who listen to the podcast, who watch us. We appreciate you so much. Without all of you and all of your support, moms out there, and everything that you do, we wouldn't be doing what we do.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day to everybody. It's funny that you say this. I'm glad that you said this. We should have started off with it, but I saw my mom. My mom listens to every episode in the car. And in the last episode, I made a comment about my dad, about John Murphy coming to my dad's like wake or funeral or whatever. Yes. And she's like, you still brought up your dad, even though it's Mother's Day weekend, and I didn't get any shout out. So that's what she said to me. So I'm glad she is getting her shout out. She is the best. Happy Mother's Day to her. Happy Mother's Day to my wife, Andrea, of course, to Yana, to your mother. So, and to any moms that are listening out there, you know, we really appreciate all you do. I didn't know how much work being a parent was until about a year and 2 months ago when I became a parent. Yeah. And moms are superheroes. They are unbelievable.
No doubt about it. So happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. Let's get into the schedule. All right, Matt Bove, WKBW TV Channel 7. You'll be having some games on your network this year, a lot of them. WGR Sports Radio 550. We'll be having national games and, of course, all the Bills games as well. Let's save the Bills for a moment. Let's start with week 1. We know the Chiefs will open Thursday night. The opening game of the season, they're the Super Bowl champions, so that's happened. Unfortunately, we have to live with this again. Them doing that again. The Bills played in this game in LA a couple of years ago, as you mentioned. We also know that week 1 will feature an Eagles-Packers game in Sao Paulo, Brazil. That will be night number 2. It'll be a Friday night, week 1. That'll be a regular season game in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Who are the Chiefs most likely to open with taking a look at their 8 home games. I'll run through them. They have their division teams, obviously, which is the Broncos, the Chargers, the Raiders. They also play Baltimore, which would be an AFC Championship rematch, Cincinnati, which would be an AFC Championship rematch from 2 years ago, the Houston Texans, who are incredibly rising with a bullet, basically. As Mike North said, they whiffed on them last year. They're going to be making sure that does not happen this year. The New Orleans Saints were always an intriguing matchup. They played plenty of primetime games every year. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who I think surprisingly last year made it to the playoffs and have, oh, by the way, exciting Baker Mayfield. A lot to choose from here.
Yeah, there is a lot to choose from. I think there are several options that make sense. If I were the NFL, if I were Mike North, I would be riding the high of the Houston Texans. And I would say it's very similar to what the league did last year with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions, where it feels like this team was ascended at the end of the season prior. And now it's like, okay, you've arrived. Now, I know Houston won a playoff game last year. That is different than what Detroit did by still missing the playoffs and then ending up in this window. I just think so many people think Houston is going to be legit. I think it's a really good test for the Chiefs. I think it's Stephon Diggs' first game in a new team, that I think that would be a storyline that would be very intriguing. I also think there are still better matchups for the Chiefs that the league can save. I think the Bengals is a better matchup. I think the Ravens is a better matchup. And I think those mean more as you get closer to the end of the season. Like, they've had so much success with Bengals Chiefs in week 16, week 17, week 18. I bet they go back into that well. The Ravens, you could play at any point. You do not need to have your fastball to start out the gate. Right. So that's why I think the Texans would make sense.
Well, I agree with what you say about the Ravens. You could put them at any place, but I think you look at the schedule, you could say that about a lot of teams. I think all these teams, like, well, who do you save, right? I mean, because you could just put any of them anywhere. There's so many really intriguing matchups. I think about last year a little bit, and I say, you know what? You have the Detroit Lions last year playing at Kansas City. That seemed really interesting. Would be a game between cross-conference opponents, one that was kind of exciting with Detroit, but not quite there yet. But then look what happened. They wound up going to the NFC Championship, I think probably very unexpectedly by a lot of people. I think Baltimore would be a really interesting choice here. I disagree about Houston because, like, being the choice, they just did that. We just saw that when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl several years ago. Remember when they won for the first time, they played the Houston Texans. That was Clyde Edwards-Helaire basically had that monster game, right? So I just don't think that is the team. I think the team that stands out to me first is the LA Chargers. The LA Chargers with Jim Harbaugh, a division game, the Chargers going to Kansas City to open the season would, I think, be a really juicy matchup. Two teams that are going to look, you say, well, they could save that game. You still can, Matt, because they play later in the year again. So you can put that game on anywhere you want. I think the Bengals kind of qualify a little bit more of what you were talking about earlier, like a little bit too much of a game there. But then the one sneaky play for me might be the New Orleans Saints. And I say it because it's like the Detroit of last year. I know it's like a yuck game. You think it's like a yuck game, but then it actually wound up being a good game. And I think about the way that they did it last year. Look, the league can put any game they want there. They're going to get millions and millions and millions and tens of millions of viewers. Sure. It doesn't matter. So I don't think that they worry too much about that.
No, you're absolutely right. I could live with, not that it matters, but the Chargers to me makes a lot of sense because of Harbaugh, because it's Herbert's first game back after missing last season, most of last season, or at least the second half of it. Anyway, it's a division game. The Chargers always have seemed to play this version of the Chiefs fairly tough. So that one makes sense to me. The Saints would be, that's just a team that I have no interest in. I would still watch. Right? It is our lives. I'm not missing the first game, but I don't want to watch the Saints play the first week. I don't want to watch Derek Carr start.
Did you want to watch Detroit last year? Maybe.
Yes.
Because you saw them on Hard Knocks, Dan Campbell and everything. Maybe.
Yeah, they were the buzzy hot team. And I mean, like, listen, maybe we're a little bit closer to it. They gave the Bills a hell of a game on Thanksgiving that same season. And then they eliminated the Packers from the playoffs to end the season. Even though theirs was also ended hours prior, they were the hot buzzy team. They were the team that people were picking to ascend. I don't think anybody is saying that about the Saints. I don't think anybody's like, they're just so blah.
I would still put them third, maybe on my list behind the top two. I say Chargers, Ravens. Who are your top two?
I would say Texans, Chargers.
Okay. All right, we both have Chargers in the top two. Chargers would be a good choice. I think I could see that happening for sure. Chargers, Ravens play this year. This is Harbaugh against Harbaugh. Of course, they already matched up in a Super Bowl, so it's not like it's completely unique. Is that a primetime game, you think? Is it absolutely a primetime game?
Yeah, I think there's a couple ones that we could probably chalk up as primetime games. I think the Harbaugh Bowl version 2 will be a primetime game. I think that Kirk Cousins returning to Minnesota will be a primetime game. I think, I'm trying to think, other ones that are like
that Atlanta at Minnesota the return that screams like week 1 Monday night, maybe something like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it could for sure. Those are just some of the like layups for the league that I think we definitely know are going to be primetime games.
All right, the league. We are here. We don't know officially. Things could change, but it appears Netflix will have the Christmas Day games. Okay, here's one thing I've seen. I need to clarify with everyone. Christmas games are week 17. They are not the back end of week 16. They are the front end of week 17. So you're going to have teams play on Saturday in week 16. And by the way, that would be, let me open my calendar here. Saturday, week 16 will be the 21st. Okay, the 21st. Then teams are going to turn around and play Wednesday, the 25th. 2 games, it looks like. So you're going to play, remember Mike Norris said, if you play on the 25th, you're playing on the 21st. Then you're playing the Saturday, Wednesday. But that will be the start, the kickstart of week 17. All these fake schedules you see floating around, they're fake if they have Christmas games on week 16. It's not, it's week 17. Okay, without spoiling anything with the Bills, what are your thoughts about what they want to do at least with Christmas?
I think that there are probably 3 divisions in play that they could
explain what you mean by divisions. I agree, but what do you explain what you mean by divisions?
So the way that I interpreted what Mike North told us was that because you are going to play these games on Saturday and then again on Wednesday, the second half of the Christmas stretch there, you would have the division teams almost play like a little round robin because you need the common opponents and you need to make the schedule that way. So to me, let's say it's the AFC East for the sake of the conversation. Spoiler alert, maybe I think that. You would have 2 teams play on Saturday. You would have all 4 teams play on Saturday. Let's say Bills, Patriots, Jets, Dolphins. And then on Christmas Day, you would switch up the opponents with the same 4 teams. And I think they are trying to find a division that is competitive, that these games will matter, week 16, week 17. So to me, the divisions that immediately jump out are, okay, I think you could do the AFC East. I think you could do the AFC North. There's a couple other divisions that I think make sense.
Why would you what are your qualifications for this, for the divisions? Like, why do you think some divisions make more sense than others?
I think it's got to be divisions where it's competitive, where I would say like, okay, there's not a clear cut, okay, this team is definitely like, I don't think the AFC West makes sense because everybody thinks the Chiefs are going to win. I don't think the AFC South makes a ton of sense because everybody thinks the Texans are going to win. And then in the NFC, I don't think the NFC North, because I think that 1 or 2 of those, well, we know one of those teams, but I think 2 of those teams could be heavily featured on Thanksgiving. Like, I feel like this year could be like Lions, Packers. So if you're going to put one of those games on Thanksgiving, are you really going to make them play on Thanksgiving and on Christmas Day? So process of elimination, I think AFC East makes sense. I think AFC North makes sense. I think NFC West makes sense for that because I think that there's a couple, even though the 49ers are really, really good and the favorite there, the other teams in the division are all pretty strong as well. So that's how I'm envisioning the schedule is built.
Okay. I love a lot of what you said. There's one caveat I'd like to throw in. I think the league would value colder outdoor games on Christmas as well.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
So to me, that probably takes out the West, right? That takes out the West. So I think you have to gravitate more to the East or the North. I like what you said about the NFC North. You're already playing Thanksgiving there with Detroit. Although a few years ago, it's maybe about 5 years ago now, I will tell you the Steelers did play Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's all in one season, which was amazing. If I remember that. I think to me, I'm going to shy away from the AFC East here. I like NFC East or AFC North. This feels like an AFC North thing for me. It just does. I don't know why.
A little bit.
Yeah, it's Steelers, it's Browns, it's Bengals, it's Ravens. It just all those teams are that's competitive. They're all gonna be pretty good. Like you're not sacrificing much on that day, and you're gonna get weather. You're gonna get weather in one of those cities, two of those cities. They're all indoor cities. None of them play in outdoor cities. None of them play in a dome. So I think I like what you said. That's why I do not have the Bills playing on Christmas, as we spoil this a little bit more. We'll see what I have. We'll see what you have in a little while. We know that Lions and the Cowboys will host on Thanksgiving. What do you think the league looks for that Thanksgiving night game?
A team that people are still going to want to watch, a team that people aren't going to shut the TV off or they're going to go shopping, a team that they will be forced to kind of stay inside and watch. And that's why I think the Bills are a potential fit there because, hey, listen, they've done their share of games on Thanksgiving the last couple of years. Maybe now it's time for them to host a game. So I just think that it's got to be, honestly, the AFC North feels like it could be a fit there too. Like a Ravens-Bengals game. I know they've done similar things in the past. That feels like it could be a Sunday or a Thursday night, 8 o'clock game on Thanksgiving. So
do you know who was the night game last year? Do you remember?
It was the 49ers. Is that right?
49ers.
My guess is 49ers Seahawks is my guess.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to say that makes sense too, because then it's obviously earlier in the day out there. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot. Like, I keep thinking back to what Mike North said. His quote was, "It's got to feel like a football game." It's got to feel like a football game. I think Buffalo on Thanksgiving evening would feel like a football game, but I really think Buffalo on Christmas Day would feel like a football game.
By the way, though, the year before that, this actually was a really good game, though. It was Patriots at Vikings on Thanksgiving night.
I remember that actually, because that was the day the Bills played the Lions, right?
Yes.
Thanksgiving.
Yes.
I remember kind of getting I think I had Kirk Cousins in fantasy, and I think I remember following along on the drive back of getting the updates of like Kirk Cousins getting fantasy points. But yeah, I mean, that one doesn't exactly scream feels like a football game. That's kind of an outlier there. But I think there's a lot of things they could do, but they're going to put a popular team with a really good quarterback in that window.
And then finally, before we get into the Bills schedule, which we'll predict here, we'll give you a mock schedule. That's right for all you haters, mock schedule season. Black Friday, really interesting. Remember last year was Dolphins at Jets. It just fit. It's Amazon. It's Black Friday. It's New York City, the heart of shopping. To me, I feel like the same thing, but maybe the Giants this year. I feel like Amazon wants people to stay out of the New York City shopping scene and watch games while they're on their phone shopping. They're paying $10 million a year for these games, I think, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think they are.
I think that feels like a Chicago Bears game.
Okay.
That feels like it's a big market. It's Caleb Williams. People get a chance to see him. I mean, they'll obviously have seen him earlier than that, but that to me feels like a NFC North Bears Packers game, or like a Bears something like that. That's what I kind of feel like there. I do think it'll be a major market, which would mean Chicago, New York, LA, one of those. But yeah, I see what you're saying. I just don't know how many people want to watch the Giants.
Well, I don't know. Well, I mean, I guess Aaron Rodgers last year definitely moved the needle. Obviously, we know what happened after that. But I think this is more about Amazon than it is about who people want to watch. This is more about you're giving us, $100 million for 10 years, basically. We want to make sure people are home shopping so it works for you, right? So you can track that. And if people are out about in New York City, they're not shopping. But if they're at home watching the Giants, they might be shopping on their phone via Amazon. That's why I feel like, to me, maybe I'm reading too much into it. We'll see. All right, let's get to the Buffalo Bills. Our schedule predictions, our mock schedule. Let's walk through it a little bit. Sal Capaccio, Matt Bove. It's always game day in Buffalo. Matt and I have the same Buffalo Bills opening game. I'm going to let you reveal what it is, and then we'll both explain why, because I'm sure it's the same reason. Go ahead.
All right. We both have the Buffalo Bills starting the 2024 season at home Sunday, 1 o'clock against the New England Patriots. Now, if you hear that and you groan, This is my reasoning for it, and we can get sales. I think it's a new era for New England without Bill Belichick. So the game has a little bit more juice because it is like, okay, it's the first game for this new era. Maybe it's the first game for Drake May. Maybe. I just think even though we've been told it doesn't matter, Bills have started on the road several straight years. They've started in primetime on several straight years. I think it's time that they get a home game, a normal Sunday 1 o'clock home opener. That is a sacred day in Western New York. And I think after a couple of years of being on the big stage, we're due for okay, great home opener, not oh my gosh, I can't believe they're playing in this game to start the season.
I'm looking back at the Patriots' last several home openers, opening games. This is amazing. Hold on, wait a minute. This is crazy. Okay, ready? I didn't know this. 2020, Dolphins at Patriots. This is week 1. 2021.
It's like every
Dolphins
year.
At Patriots.
Yeah.
2022, Patriots at Dolphins. 2023, they played week 2, and they opened against the Eagles. I'm going to say for the same reasons you did, and to me, it's more about these two teams. They're going to play again later in the season. We still have an opportunity if we want to put them on prime time somewhere, which we'll talk about later if we do. But for the Bills, like you said, 2 straight years prime time. Give them a little reprieve here. They've been on the road. Give their fans a chance to watch them at home on a packed Highmark Stadium on a beautiful Sunday afternoon in Orchard Park, which looks great aesthetically on television. So we both have the Bills and the Patriots. This next one is where we differ, but not so much because we both have the Bills on the road in week number 2. So I don't know how you want to do this, Matt. We can kind of talk about these games kind of a little bit at a time. You can walk through yours a little bit, but week number 2, we both have the Bills on the road in a pretty marquee game. I have first primetime game of the year, Thursday night at the Jets, week 2, rematch of last year's Monday night game, week number 2. Remember, a few years ago, the Bills did play the Jets week 2 at home. It was right. That's the game that Greg Roman was fired right after. Rex Ryan was the head coach. So the Jets came here and beat the Bills. But I have the Bills going to there. I do think Bills Jets is a primetime game somewhere in the schedule. I have it week 2 at New York.
Thursday. Now, the reason I understand where you're coming from, I also I think that it's valid. My thought process of why that won't happen is because I think the Jets will once again start at home. And I don't know if I could see the league going home game on Sunday, home game on Thursday, back to back, because it's not just that. It's then also how does that impact the Giants' schedule? Because I don't think the Giants would be getting a Monday night game to start the year. I know they don't need that much time to turn things over, but that would likely force the Giants definitely to be on the road and the Jets at home week 1, and then who knows for week 2. I get it. I think that you want to see Aaron Rodgers go up against the team that he got injured in last year. It feels like it should be on a big stage. But my week 2 game, I put Bills at Seahawks. And I put Bills at Seahawks because I think when you hear my week 3 game, it would make sense why I stacked it there. Because I feel like the Bills are going to head out to the West Coast relatively early.
Would you like me to? Would you like me to put your schedule up and you can walk through why you did all this in one puzzle?
Don't reveal it yet. We'll do it after. We'll do it after. But week 3 for me. So let's go to week 3.
Okay.
My mock schedule is Patriots at Bills week 1, Bills at Seahawks week 2. I put Sunday 4:05, probably like a Sunday afternoon Fox game. I have week 3. Bills at Rams, Thursday night football.
Wow. Bills would stay there. I like this. Okay. From a travel standpoint, I like this.
So I'm thinking here, it's like, all right, they're already on the West Coast. It's a short week. I feel like in this situation, they wouldn't come home. They would go from Seattle to LA. They would stay in Seattle. Because I've heard a couple people ask this. Do you think that they stay out there if they have back-to-back? If it's a 4-day week, they absolutely stay out there. I don't think they stay out there.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think the Bills have requested to the league to have back-to-back so they can do this?
Yes. I think that after London went so poorly, they are now trying to kind of do the opposite of what they did. So I would think that if they're like, okay, listen, we're going to have to go and we're going to do this travel. Let's do it once and let's pack it together. So that's why I think Seahawks week 2, Rams, and that feel like that's a sneaky fun game. It's not even a sneaky game, but Bills at Rams, that's a primetime game. That's a game that Amazon would want. And then if you're the Bills, it gives you a little bit of an early bye week, kind of, because you get a long break.
I like it. All right, I'm going to throw your schedule up. You could talk about it, right? Should I put some music? We have actually music we can play in background music. I'm going to see how this I have no idea what's about to happen when I push this button, okay? Here we go. That's a little too much. Wait, hold on. How about this, right? Here we go. You like that?
It's sure.
You like that?
If you want it, yeah.
Let's do it. Put it in the background. It's the first time we ever did this.
I feel like we need,
It's 2024 Bills my schedule. Go ahead, Matt. Take it away.
All right, week 4, Jets at Bills, Sunday, 1:00. I understand Sal's reasoning of why he thinks the Jets and Bills is a primetime game. I get it. We'll get back to that. Week 5, Bills at Colts, Sunday, 1:00. I think that because they've got more road games this year, they're going to be pretty evenly spread out. That doesn't feel like more than a Sunday 1:00 game, but we shall see. A little bit of a surprise here. Week 6, I have Bills at Ravens once again going on the road. Another Sunday 1:00 game. I think the Ravens have a lot of really great opponents that they play with in their division. I feel like their primetime games will be reserved mostly for that. Bills and Ravens is a good game. I think it's a game that most of the country's watching. It's just Sunday at 1:00. Week 7, Titans at Bills. It's there because they play the Titans. I don't have any reasoning for that. It's just that needed to fit into the schedule. Week 8, that's when I have the bye week. A little bit earlier than I'm sure the Bills would want, but also not super early that they would be able to complain. Remember, they would also have that mini bye week a few weeks prior because of the way I stacked it, Seahawks and then Rams. Coming back from the bye, you get a little bit of a game that I think people would feel good about, and then an absolute gauntlet of a stretch.
Yes.
And that's just the way that the schedule is built. Cardinals at Bills, Sunday 1:00. Now get ready, Bills fans. Buckle up. Week 10, Bills at Texans, Sunday 8:20. Stephon Diggs, revenge game for the Bills. That, for me, would be their second primetime game of the year. But wait, there's more. Week 11, 49ers at Bills, Monday 8:15. So you travel out to Houston, you get a little bit of an extra day's rest by having the Monday game, back-to-back primetime games. But listen, we think the Bills are going to be good. It makes a lot of sense. But it doesn't get any easier. The next week, Bills go to Dolphins, Sunday, 1:00. I know that you could say, oh, well, that needs to be a primetime game. Sure. But I think the Jets are the bigger threat in the AFC East, and I think the league might think that too. So that makes sense as you look to the end of the schedule. Week 13, Chiefs at Bills, Monday, 8:15. I have this here because they tend to play, they've historically played them around this time, around the start of December, end of November, early December.
No, I want to push back on that. They played them week 5, like 2 straight years not too long ago.
Yeah, but the last couple of years, this is when they've played them.
Okay, all right.
The last couple of years, yes. They beat them on Sunday Night Football in week 5, and then the year prior to that, that was week 6, but that was the weird game because of COVID that I think they played Monday at 5:00. It was supposed to be Thursday.
Then they played 425 2 years ago in Kansas City on week 5, I think.
No, I don't think so.
No?
Look that up while I'm finishing my schedule.
But go ahead.
Right.
Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, you're okay. So I have Chiefs at Bills on a Monday night, and my reason for putting it on a Monday night, even though Mike North specifically said that checks multiple boxes if you do it on CBS, my thought is it hasn't been on ABC, ESPN yet. That game has been on a lot of networks, but the year that they even played on Monday, it wasn't even on ESPN, ABC. It was on whatever the Thursday partner was then. I think it might have been CBS. And then that was what was called on Monday night. Because remember, Monday Night Football is the name of a show. I think that the league wants to give their partners at ABC, ESPN a really great game. That's why I'm putting Bills and Chiefs there. Week 14, Bills at Lions, Sunday, 4:25. Just an absolutely terrible stretch for the Bills. So hard, but that's just the way it is. Week 15, Jaguars at Bills, Sunday, 1:00. It doesn't get significantly easier, but it gets a little bit easier. Week 16.
Bills fans would love to see that because the Jags coming up from Florida for a colder weather game, right?
Now, this is when things get interesting for me.
Baby.
I have them ending the season with 3 consecutive division games because I think that they're going to play on Christmas. It's just my feeling. So the what we described earlier, I have Bills at Patriots the Saturday before Christmas at 1 o'clock. We don't know the time windows for that yet. It could be like 1 o'clock. It could be 4 o'clock. I think because it's such a short week, they would do these games a little bit earlier to give the teams a little bit of extra time. So for the sake of the conversation, I put Bills at Patriots Saturday, 1 o'clock, which means week 17, Dolphins at Bills, Christmas Day, 3:30. That just, to me, feels like a football game.
It does.
This has been such a good rivalry for the last couple of years. You get the Dolphins coming to Buffalo in the snow globe of what could be Christmas Day. You get to spend Christmas morning with your family and friends, and then you can head out to Highmark Stadium for what could be an awesome atmosphere. And then they get a little bit of an extra break because they're playing so early in the week. And then I have them closing out the season at the Jets with the to-be-determined time there, because it'll all depend on if the Jets are good, if the Bills are good, is the division on the line or playoff spots on the line. Could be very similar to what we saw with the Dolphins last year. So that is my mock schedule. The music was a nice touch.
I like it. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll keep the music going when I get you into my mock as well. I was correct, by the way. Let's go back the last few years. Okay. Last year, Bills at Chiefs, week 14. The year before that, Bills at Chiefs, week 6, 4:25 p.m., 22. The year before that, Bills at Chiefs, week 5, 8:20 p.m. The year before that, Chiefs at Bills, and that was the COVID game, but that was also week 6.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, I thought that it was 2 of them that were at the end of the season, not one of them. I remember, it's funny. I don't remember much about the week 6 game from 2 years ago. I remember Von Miller was really good, and then Taryn, I think, had an interception that ended the game. But I didn't remember that being early in the season. I just remembered that being the game.
That was
but
the game.
Obviously, I remember last year, the Bills kind of keeping their season alive on the road at Arrowhead. It feels like a game that could be saved a little bit. It feels like it's more important than an early season game. Like week 6 primetime games feel like the perfect window for Kirk Cousins going back to the Vikings. That doesn't feel like Bills Chiefs.
Okay, here's my Buffalo Bills 2024 mock schedule. Matt and I, we said we agree. Patriots at Bills, Sunday, 1 p.m. to start the season. I told you I had Bills at Jets on a Thursday night. Right after that, quick turnaround, going to New York, playing at 8:15 p.m. Then just feels like another Sunday. I love these. I'm also a little biased. I like early season Sunday 1 p.m. games when the weather's still warm in Orchard Park. It looks great on television. Jags at Bills just feels like an early season game to me every time they play. Maybe other than Josh's rookie year was a little later. Feels like it's more early in the season. Jags at Bills Sunday at 1 p.m. Then I harken back to a couple of years ago. Bills Ravens was such a big game then. It is a big game now. It could be a night game, but you know what they did then? They put it early in the season. I think it was week 5 then, if I remember correctly. They put it Sunday at 4:25. That's what I have this one as well. Bills at Ravens.
No.
Was it 1 o'clock?
It was a 1 o'clock game.
It was a
1 o'clock game, and I believe it was week 4. And the reason I remember this is because I flew back that night after the game, and I had time to kill, and I went to a Chili's, and I had 2 hours in a Chili's. So I do think it was a 1 o'clock game, and it was it poured. Remember, it was a really gross. Well, you get it. You're on the sideline.
I remember, and the Bills they were down. They came back. They won the game. It was a walk-off field goal in that one. But I have that game as a national audience game, 4:25, but not a primetime game.
Definitely makes sense. Definitely.
Then I have the Bills coming back home for another AFC South matchup Sunday at 1 o'clock. Titans at Bills Sunday, 1 o'clock. Get the fans back up after that trip to Baltimore and get them ready for the big Chiefs at Bills matchup. Now, I go back to what I was saying earlier. 3 out of the last 4 years, this has been a week 5 or 6 game. I got it Chiefs at Bills like it was that COVID year. It was moved that year. Sunday, 8:20. This is a Sunday night football game. What have the games been? They've been on Sunday night, right?
Well, so COVID year, it was Monday night, but it wasn't supposed to be. It was supposed to be a Thursday night.
Oh, yeah, it was supposed to be a Thursday night.
It was supposed to be a Thursday night, and it got moved to Monday at 5 p.m.
Yeah.
So I think that was CBS before Amazon was in the picture. Then the next year was Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
Because that was after the AFC Championship. They went in there. That was where there was the rain delay at halftime.
That's right.
The next year, as you said, was early in the season, so that would have been CBS. And then the following year, last year, was CBS. So it's been CBS 3 out of the 4 times. And then the one time was NBC. Because that was still at that time, Nance.
I have them back on NBC, Sunday Night Football, Chiefs at Bills, Week 6, and then the Bills have a bye week. That'd be a nice rest. It'd be great to beat the Bills. To beat the Chiefs and the Bills to have a bye week right after that. That'd be great for them. And then they go on the road for a couple big AFC South matchups. At the Colts, Sunday, 1 p.m. I think that's a sneaky game that could be put on the primetime schedule, like Denver, like Tampa last year.
Yep.
This is the one I think is really interesting. I want to talk about this later with you. I have Bills at Texans Sunday at 4:25 p.m. This is going to be a national game in one way, shape, or form. We just don't know where or when. I have it not as a night game, but a national window 4:25 game. That's where it fits for me. I want to talk to you about that in a little while because I think it could go anywhere on the schedule in a national window. Week 10, still haven't played the Dolphins yet until now. Dolphins at Bills, Monday Night Football in Buffalo, 8:15 p.m. When I was growing up, Dolphins, Bills, they would play Monday night every once in a while. This is before we had all the Sunday nights and Thursday nights. And it was always some sort of October game, early November game. I got us going back to those days. Dolphins at Bills, Monday Night Football, 8:15 p.m., Week 10. Then we go to Week 11. This is the week before Thanksgiving, by the way. Not Thanksgiving. Bills at Lions, Sunday night, 4:25 p.m. The league puts the Lions on Sunday Night Football, turns around and puts them on Thanksgiving. Not Sunday night. I'm sorry, Sunday afternoon football, puts them on Thanksgiving. But Sunday, 4:25 p.m., national window, Bills at Lions, the team that went to the AFC Championship last year. Then on Thanksgiving week, Bills aren't playing Thanksgiving with me, but they are traveling like they did last year to Philly, this year to Seattle. Sunday, 4:25 p.m., a Seattle Thanksgiving weekend trip for the Buffalo Bills. This is the one, Week 13. I think is the most likely to be a primetime game for the Buffalo Bills. Somewhere in the schedule, this is going to be primetime. I have it. 49ers at Bills, Week 13. This is the start December, by the way. First week of December, Sunday Night Football, 8:20 p.m. in Buffalo. I think this is going to be a primetime game somewhere. I'm more convinced about that than any other game. No inside info, just the way I look at it. Then I have, believe it or not, Jets at Bills Sunday at 1 p.m. Nothing. They already played primetime. It was in New York. This time it's in Buffalo, Sunday, 1 p.m. And then, Matt, I got him going out to L.A. to play the Rams Sunday at 4:25 p.m. Bills-Rams, a Sunday afternoon game in L.A. late in the season. That'd be nice. Remember, I'm thinking about the L.A. trip last year, right around the same time, in L.A. against the Chargers. This year, against the Rams. Then, Bills at Dolphins, Sunday, 1 o'clock game. This is in Miami. Won't be as hot. They've just played the Dolphins in Buffalo a few weeks before that. Got them at a 1 o'clock game here instead of a primetime game. The one that's interesting, I have no idea what to do with this game. No idea. But I got it late in the season. Cardinals at Bills. It's the one I'm feeling least confident about. That I don't think they would put it here, but I got it here. Cardinals at Bills, Sunday, 1 p.m., Week 17, before the final showdown against the Patriots. And yes, Bills at Patriots to end the season, just like Patriots at Bills to start the season. That has happened many times. Sean McDermott's first year, I think it was Jets bookends, if I remember right. Maybe not. I know that happened one time recently. And then remember the year the Sam Adams pick 6 and the way when the Bills just crushed the Patriots 31-0. They opened with them. Then they lost 31-0 at New England to end the season. So I have Patriots Bills Week 1 and Week 18. So there you go. That is my schedule. You have 4 primetime games, night primetime games, but you also have Christmas.
Yep.
So you have, obviously you have the Bills on the primetime schedule a lot. I do not have them on the primetime schedule as much as you do, but I do have 4 night games.
Yeah, I think that actually by the letter of the law, they consider primetime to be anything other than Sunday afternoon. I would have 6 because of the Saturday Patriots game before Christmas. So that would be 2 for basically if you play on Christmas. I think by NFL rules, that would mean you get at least 2 because it would be boom, boom. Games that aren't Sunday at 1 o'clock or Sunday at 4 o'clock. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of things with your schedule that I like. The one takeaway that I have from hearing both of our schedules, and it is still May, their opponents are so challenging in 2024. Man. It is such a drastic difference. And listen, you need to give yourself the best chance to win and get into the playoffs. And there was a chance that they wouldn't have even gotten it. But them beating Miami at the end of the season and winning the division really messes up their schedule because the games that you have to play are so much harder than the games that the Dolphins have to play. I mean, the common opponents are like, instead of having to play the Ravens, the Dolphins get to play the Browns. Like, I think I'd much rather play the Browns. Instead of having to play the Texans, the Dolphins have to, or no, it wouldn't be the Texans.
Well, I would say though, the Bills have the Lions, which is tough, but Dolphins have the Packers. So I think there's kind of you could say maybe a wash. Maybe it's the same. I don't know.
I think the Lions are
How about
really
this
good.
one though? Yeah, the Chiefs, right? The Bills get the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Dolphins get the Raiders. Who finished in second? Raiders?
Well, I don't remember. Was it Raiders?
Yeah,
that sounds
Raiders,
right.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Not the Broncos. That's
I'll
right.
Look it up real quick. Dolphins
But I do want to say, we were talking about the Christmas games. Raiders Chiefs was Christmas last year.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Raiders Chiefs was Christmas.
But it was a Sunday. It was a Sunday, right? Wasn't it a Sunday thing?
Yeah, maybe that's right. Maybe that's what they did. Sunday or Monday. I can't remember, but yeah. But you're right. It wasn't on Wednesday. That's right. Which is the crossover there? You got it from Miami? Who do they have from the AFC West? I think it's the Raiders this year.
They get the Raiders at home.
Yep.
I mean, look at this is their home opponents. 49ers, Bills, hard, Jets, obviously. Titans, Raiders, Patriots, Jags, Cardinals. Those are their home games. I don't think that's tough. And then on the road, they do Browns.
Well, they have the exact same schedule except for the Raiders and Chiefs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I still think it's pretty tough over there. The Niners, the Cardinals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess so. And then on the road, they have Browns, Packers, Texans, Rams, and then Seahawks. So similar. They've got the Rams and the Seahawks, just like the Bills. Colts, Jets, Patriots. It's just the difference of you have to play the Chiefs, you have to play the Ravens. Those are really, really.
And they get the Packers, the Bills get the Lions, and I think that's about similar right now. The way what
that's similar, but
especially if Miami has to go there in December. By the way.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, sure. It's just it's the way the league is set up. I mean, the Bills have had a very hard schedule for 4 straight years because they win the division.
Can we talk about this Texans game? I think it's super interesting because you have it as a night game. Where'd you put it on your schedule? I
put it kind of in the middle. I think it was week 10. I have it. Yeah,
week 10. Have Bills at Texans Sunday at 8:20. I have Bills at Texans week 9 Sunday at 4:25. So we're kind of both in the middle there. It's going to be a national game. I keep weighing like where nationally. Is it nighttime? Is it 4:25 p.m.? It's one or the other.
Yeah, I think so too.
Could that be a Thanksgiving night? Can't be Christmas because of the division thing, I think. Thanksgiving night?
What if that was Thanksgiving night?
Oh, man.
That would be, I hope not, because then I got to miss Thanksgiving. But that would be a heavy hitter of a game. I also don't think it's impossible that it's not this Sunday Night Football game to start the season.
Ooh.
Like if they start with the Chargers, like you predicted, right? Like, don't you think that would be just an absolute home run? I know you could say, I know the logic is save it and put it anywhere, but oh my God, the storylines would be amazing. I mean, Stephon Diggs' first game with the Texans is against his former team. Like, what if they did that on Sunday night and then they did Falcons-Vikings on Monday night?
Let's unless you have anything else on the schedule, let's answer a few questions that came our way before we got on the air here.
No, let's answer a few questions. I don't have anything else on the schedule. A lot of the questions were kind of specifically designated towards the schedule. Here's one from Adam Ritter. He says, "How do you feel about KJ?" I'm assuming he means KJ Hamler, right?
Probably. Yep.
I feel like he's the guy who was Tavon Austin a couple of years ago of like, there's buzz that he could be more here. I'm not going to bet on him making the team, but I also don't think it's impossible. They need speed. They need a vertical stretch. That's kind of his thing. And so
the Bills are just kind of hoping that they found lightning in a bottle here with a guy that just wasn't able to kind of do it for the first couple of years in his career.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of how I feel about it. Not overly optimistic about his chances, but also, hey, why not? It's a lottery ticket. It's the same thing with Chase Claypool to me. There's another question about Chase Claypool here. We talked about it a little bit when they signed him, but like, I think Chase Claypool is a higher upside Mac Hollins. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, oh well. It's a 1-year deal. It's not going to cost you a lot. I think
Yeah.
you need to take flyers when you don't have a stacked wide receiver room and the Bills don't.
Well, I will then I'll actually talk about a couple of questions first. It's Adam. Are you guys going to talk about the Claypool signing and the other guys for a bit? We did already. The last episode, we didn't talk about rookie minicamp much this one. We'll get more into that a little bit. We'll do a schedule release show. We'll talk about rookies and things like that. OTAs coming up. Bills fan forever, BFF. I want to table your question. He asks us to rank some of the best away games this year based strictly on stadium fan experience and Bills Mafia hangout takeover. I would like to table that and say, Matt, I would rather do that when we know when the games are. We can actually give it a little bit more insight. Like if you go to this city, like it's a great time to go, something like that. So we'll do that when the schedule comes out. But I do have a really good question that came to us. This is not schedule related. I think I know the answer to this. Student Body Right says, why do we allocate 4 rows, we meaning the Bills organization, 4 rows of premium seating in a section closest to the field where crowd participation can be most useful to a drum corps that performs 2 times a game? I think I know the answer to this. The answer is because the way the stadium is designed, it's a little more flat in those first 4 rows. And there were a lot of season ticket holders who couldn't see because people were standing up all game. And they basically said, we don't want to do that to those season ticket holders who are paying a lot of money. Those spots are really close to the field. So they said, we're not going to let people sit there anymore because they're standing the whole game. And it made it a little bit more difficult. I believe that's the answer.
Yeah, and I think that that's maybe a misconception for people who don't go to a ton of football games or who, know, go infrequently. The closer to the field sometimes isn't best. To have a little bit of a higher vantage point, I'm not saying you want to always be in the last row of the stadium if you can choose anywhere to sit, but I think there's somewhere in the middle. Like I loved growing up sitting lower in the 300s. I thought that was a great vantage point because I think you can kind of see the play. It's almost like watching it in all 22, but in real time, which is cool. I think that if I were going to a game, if I were buying tickets to a game that I'd want to go to, I would want to sit at the top of the lower bowl. That's where I think I would try and go. I think that sometimes, though, being low, it's really cool for like pregame and warm-ups and being close to your favorite players. But sometimes you don't have a great scope of what's actually going on.
I think the question was really more geared towards like fan noise, though, and things like that. But I think, man, it's loud no matter where you are in there, right? I mean, and it's I get it. I think the reason why, though, is not to allocate it to the band. It's because of what I said a little while ago. Here's one for you, and I think we touched on this a little bit. You talked about the back-to-back games. Anthony asks, he said he was hoping we'd ask Mike North. We didn't. Why teams get back-to-back primetime games, a Sunday night and then a Monday night game? I think the answer is just it's too tough not to do that these days with the amount of teams that you want to showcase on primetime.
Yeah, I also think that it's maybe a way of scratching the team's back a little bit if they are playing on a primetime game, if they've got the longer wait on the second end of it, because you are shortening their week. I mean, instead of playing on a Sunday 1 o'clock, if you're going to put them on Sunday at 8:20, it does help them a little bit to play them on Monday Night Football after that, because that gives them a little bit more of a turnaround time, especially if they are traveling. Like if you had to go Sunday and then do another short week, like not even a short week, but Sunday and then travel to a Sunday 1 o'clock game would be a little bit of a tight turn. So I think that they're unavoidable, but I also think the teams might prefer it because it kind of clumps those together, and then you can routine everything based off of, that particular segment of the schedule. I wanted to get to this one too because I really liked this. I really liked this question. This can be the last one we do. This is from Rafa, and he asked, best month to go to a game in Buffalo. And I think that this is a really interesting question because I think a lot of people travel to Bills games. Like, for example, I was out to dinner with my sister the other day, and her boyfriend has never been to a Bills game. He's not from Buffalo. So I was like, hey, when the schedule comes out, pick a game. I'll buy you tickets, and that can be your Christmas present. I'm like, just kind of pick any game that works in your schedule. But I mean, I think going to Bills games in September is elite.
I agree with you, but I'm going to kind of play it a little differently here and say, I do think like if I had to choose 1 month, it's September. I say it's anything within the first 6 or 7 weeks. It's before Halloween. I think once you get to like the 3rd week of October, it becomes a little dicey. Colder weather starts to creep in. It doesn't have to be. We've had some really nice Halloween weekend games. But I like the maybe 2nd, 3rd week in October is kind of like the cutoff right there. September is great, but it can also be really hot, depending on where you're sitting, how you want to deal with that. But I do think, how about this? Between the end of September and the middle of October, middle, like somewhere in there, to me is the best.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny because when the schedule comes out, like my sister is not a huge football person, but she even knows that, hey, the Chiefs would be a great game to go to.
Yep.
And it would be, of course, the most expensive ticket that I would have to buy. But if that is where you predicted it, like a week 6 primetime game, that is chef's kiss. Perfect, because the weather should still be good. Obviously, the opponent is good. That would be pretty serious. Oh,
Okay,
nice.
you said one more. I do have one more. I'm gonna get it because
Okay.
I'm people are I'm getting the feeling that people were trolling me, and I need to defend myself here. Okay,
You can defend yourself here.
Thigh Doctor says, Matt, do you know what Sal's 40 time? Do you know Sal's 40 time? I think he said he ran a 4.7. Let me give you some context. When the Bills signed Quentin Cephas, I went and looked at his 40-yard dash time because we had all this talk about Keon Coleman. It was 4.7. I'm like, dude, that's what I ran in high school. And I said that. I said that on the radio. I said it on here. I ran a 4.7. So when Thigh Doctor said, I think he said he ran a 4.7. Not now. I'm 51 years old. I'm a 51-year-old man with a pacemaker, by the way. Now, that said, yeah. I would tell you, I'm still a pretty good athlete. I keep in shape. I play a lot of sports. My goal would be to try and run mid 5s now, maybe low. 5.7 might be a little closer. As Eric says, 5.7 at best. Well, maybe now, Eric, but I did run a 4.7 in high school. And what I did on Twitter was I tagged, and I'll give him a shout out now, my awesome coach and now friend who's retired from football coaching, but still teaching at Cleveland Hill, Glenn Graham, who you know from covering high school sports. And I tagged Coach Graham and said, Glenn Graham can confirm, one of the greatest track coaches in the history of Western New York. And he would confirm that I ran a 4.7 in high school. So there you go. I had to defend my honor.
Yeah, I think that. What do you think? So I'm 20 years younger than you. Okay. I'm 31 and you're 51. Right. I have no idea what I would run.
You've never been timed, right?
No, not a I'm not fast.
Should we do this as part of an Always Game Day in Buffalo podcast at training camp?
Maybe if we reach a certain amount of like monthly downloads or subscribers or something, we could do like an incentive. So, yeah, I would. I don't have any idea. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not like I'm slow, but I think in a straight line it wouldn't be a disaster. But I don't even know what would quantify as a disaster.
Okay, like, but I would say to everybody, Matt is what I would call sneaky athletic. Like you play hockey, you play golf. Like I think that you're a better athlete than most that people like probably would think of you.
I am okay at almost like that's kind of how I would quantify it. I'm okay at a lot of different things. I don't think I'm very good. I think I'm a good golfer. I don't think I'm a very good golfer. I think I'm a good golfer. I think I was a pretty good tennis player. I was not a good hockey player, but I wasn't like terrible. I'm just like, I'm just okay. No, I haven't skated since COVID.
Since when?
Legitimate COVID.
Oh,
legitimately. Like the pandemic like the pandemic. I don't want to. I have no desire to, which is so weird, but I just have no itch to. I at a time absolutely loved it, but I don't have the itch to go back out and do it again. And honestly, at this point, it would kind of be more of a headache. Like my hockey equipment has been sitting in a bag in my garage. It would need to be professionally cleaned. It would cost me a ton of money. Like I just have no interest in doing that. Oh my God, it has to be disgusting. I have plywood. We have like wooden rafters in the garage, and I have plywood. So I think not right when the pandemic started, but like later that year, I got on a ladder, put the hockey bag on top of the garage. So it's out of sight. It's above the garage, but it's got to be. There's probably something living in there, to be honest, right?
Oh my gosh. I think that's hilarious. But get back on the ice. I don't know. It's funny you don't want to anymore. I thought you might. Like I haven't played flag football in a couple of years because of my schedule and just different things in life. But I keep telling the guys like I want to get back out there as soon as I can. Like I'm itching to go back out there and play. So
I have so little time now to golf.
I
I love golf. It is my favorite thing. And I've played 2 9-hole rounds so far this year. So for me, if there's free time, while I understand playing hockey would be way better for me, I would much rather use the extra hour and go play 9 holes of golf.
I get it. I love it. We're going to get a lot more golf in coming up here in the nice warm weather and the kind of off season before it ramps up, but a lot of Bill stuff still coming your way. OTAs on Tuesday. Matt and I will be down there. We'll be all over that. And of course the schedule release on Wednesday. We cannot wait. And we thank you for joining us to hear about this. And we're going to talk about it Wednesday night. I can't wait, Matt. We're going to talk about it as soon as it comes out. We'll put something together pretty in short order after that for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. I think that evening I will be very tied up with my full-time job of Channel 7 stuff, but I would still like to try and get an emergency episode of the podcast recorded. So that will be ready for hopefully Thursday morning for everybody.
All right. Thanks a lot for joining us. We went a little longer in this episode. We hope you enjoyed it, though. A schedule release is coming out on Wednesday. We'll talk about it. Thanks to our producer, Mike Robier. We appreciate you tuning in, whether you're downloading and listening audio-wise, wherever you pod, or, of course, on video. You would have seen our mock schedules right up there at the Sal Sports YouTube page.